But the market may not be wanting to end the year on a high, but the IPO market has definitely ended the year on the high with the final listing of the year, which is
Absolutely.
Unimech
What
Aerospace.
a bumper listing coming in, right? And that is from Unimech Aerospace. Interesting company there. So we will begin the show with the newest kid on the block. And it's an aero component manufacturer, Unimech Aerospace, that listed at an 85% premium to its issue price of 785 rupees. Now we have Anil Kumar P, who is the chairman as well as the managing director of the company, joining in with us to discuss the post-listing strategies. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for joining in with us. And what a bumper listing coming in. So firstly, congratulations on that. But, now you can talk numbers. So we are also excited about that because, your growth, obviously, it's been a lower base when you look at it in the last few years. What a good growth just in FY24 when you look at it, 120%. But now what is the strategy, right? Currently, when I'm looking at it, first half, 121 crore rupees was your first half FY25 revenue. Where is it in FY25 end, the revenue? And do you see the 400, 500 crore mark coming in the next couple of years?
Yeah, so thank you. Thanks for your wishes. And so from a revenue point of view, we, as you see on our DRHP, we have booked about 120 crore in the first half of the year. And usually second half of the year is always better in the nature of business that we are in. So while I would say you would have a decent growth compared to the last year, and especially with the capacity that we have installed recently, and the utilization is picking up. And for investors, definitely it's going to be a gain, I would say, from the revenue, the business performance point of view.
Mr. Kumar, good morning. Thank you for joining in. Congratulations on the listing. Most of your revenue comes from the export markets. Is there a plan to focus more on the Indian markets as well, considering the push that you are seeing in the sectors that you are present in? Or would you like to continue to maintain or remain an export-oriented company and maintain the numbers as they are?
No, I think we are already in the process of growing our business in the domestic world. Especially the Indian defense is picking up. There's a massive opportunity that we have yet to grab, and also the nuclear sector with the nuclear power capacity demand increasing from at least 3 times from where we are now. So we want to kind of capitalize the opportunities in the nuclear and defense segment, and also to an extent space segment. So we are definitely looking at expanding to Indian market.
Right. Mr. Kumar, one thing also I want to understand is in terms of your margins. FY22 margins at 21%. Now, H1 FY25 margins are at around 40%. So, we've seen that sharp jump in terms of margins. But from here on, where do we see the margins moving? Is this 40% peak, or is there still more room for upside?
I would say I think we had the best of the quarters. I would say 40% is the best of the margin. I would say we might be able to marginally increase, but in those quarters we have done those complex products which kind of yielded very high margins. But I would say it's best, and you can kind of look at the trend. Usually we would be around that trend in terms of the margin. So if you see the 22, the reason why we had a lesser margin was, the utilization, especially being a project-oriented company, the utilization would be lesser, for example, because of the after COVID effect. But today we see the utilization is very, very high, and also the complexity of the project that we deal and the value of the project that we deal attracts the higher margins.
So what are the utilization levels currently, Mr. Kumar, if you could share some numbers on that front?
Typically, the utilization will be around 95%. So that's where we kind of, raise the money through the IPO. We are investing on more and more capacity. If you see the last 3 years trend, it's always at 90-95% kind of a range.
Right. Mr. Kumar, generally in your line of business, the gestation period is somewhere between 7 to 28 weeks in receiving the order and then receiving the payment. So Could you just explain us your working capital situation currently, and where do we see that moving? Any improvement expected on that front, or this would be something that would be maintained?
Yeah, so from a working capital cycle point of view, I think we are doing okay compared to the peers or the segment especially, because our delivery timeline lead times are typically between 8 to 16 weeks, and our customer payments are somewhere between 45 to 90 days based on the customer. So we are doing approximately 140 days of working capital cycle, which I would say would stay around that timeline in the coming days. As you know, as a business, we are kind of mixing or growing our precision component segment, where you would see some level of increase in the precision working capital cycle, whereas as long as our bigger portion of the business is tooling, definitely the working cycle would be around 140-150 days.
Right. Just, a quick follow-up, Mr. Kumar, in terms of the air tooling as well as both the segments, the precision component segment, where right now you're mentioning 90% of your revenue is from air tooling, more than that, 99 approximately. How are the margins for both these that work? And, is there a chance that you would be focusing on precision component segment going forward furthermore?
See, I think from an internal plan, we have about 70-30 or 65-35 ratio between tooling and the precision components and sub-assemblies. So where tooling attracts higher margin because of its complexity and lower volume nature, precision components will have smaller margin, deficit compared to the toolings. Whereas as an overall business, our strategy is to kind of maintain that 70-30 ratio to kind of maintain the company level margins at a similar level.
All right, Mr. Kumar, thank you so much for sparing time and joining us today. Wish you good luck as a public company. Hope to touch base with you more often now that you are a listed entity. That was the management of Unimech Aerospace, the final listing of 2024, and a stellar one at that, a 74% bump up from its IPO price currently.